Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking for Two. This is my first video for this channel. Some of you may know me from my other channel, A Godly Home. But on this channel, I'm going to be concentrating on just cooking for two, that one topic. Today is a very fun video because I am doing a Dollar Tree Thanksgiving. And it's just going to be super fun. So I hope you enjoy this video. I took a photo of all of the groceries that I picked up at Dollar Tree so you guys could see everything in advance. And this came to $32.25. Let's see how I used these things. So the first thing we are going to make is a chicken, cheese, and stuffing casserole. And I included a package of margarine in the cost for this, but my husband has an allergy to margarine, so I'm going to have to substitute with butter. But we will be using, for you, a stick of margarine, some of the Velveeta shreds. They didn't have very many to choose from. I grabbed the Mexican one. Cream of chicken soup. A box of the stuffing mix. And 4 cans of chicken. They did have canned turkey, but I have never had their canned turkey, and I didn't know if we'd like it. And I know we love this. We buy this all the time. This is a good size just for a couple sandwiches for 1 or 2 people. And so this is something that we always keep on hand. Now, 4.5 ounces, and some of this is going to be liquid, and we know there's 16 ounces to a pound. So that's why I grabbed 4 of them. We want to make sure we have about a pound of chicken here. And we will be using just half of this package of cheese and saving half for one of the other recipes that we're making. I'm going to go ahead and melt my stick of margarine, and I will be right back. All right, I'm going to dump the whole box of stuffing into this bowl. And I'm going to just stir it with a fork because that seasoning mix sometimes can be clumpy and it doesn't get evenly distributed. Now my 1 stick of margarine poured right in there. And I'm just going to stir that evenly through. Making sure that all gets coated good. Okay, now half of this mixture is going to go right into the pan. Just a thin layer there on the bottom. And then I am going to open up all my chicken. I'm going to drain the liquid in here. My dog Sloopy might as well have that liquid later. No sense of wasting it. And the chicken will go in the big bowl. So you might be wondering, why am I doing this? And is it our actual Thanksgiving meal? No, it's not our actual Thanksgiving meal. We're going to be going to our son and daughter-in-law's house for Thanksgiving, but I'm doing this just for a fun video so that I can challenge myself and also maybe help somebody that is on a tight budget or isn't feeding that many people, or maybe is in an area that the only place they have to get their stuff is Dollar Tree. Okay, that's a pretty decent amount of chicken. I'm happy with that. Okay, then we're going to add our can of cream of chicken soup to that. Okay, and then we're going to add half of this cheese. It's 8 ounces, so that would be a cup. Let's give it a stir. Get that mixed in as best as we can. And I'd like to make this meal as delicious as I can with what was available. And a lot of the things that's normally available at my store, they were sold out of. So I've had to improvise on a lot of things, which is fine. That's part of the challenge. Okay, we're going to evenly spoon this on. Okay, I'm just going to pat this down, spread as best as I can. That's Sloopy. She's drinking the chicken broth I set aside for her. And this is not going to take very long to cook because that chicken's already done. So we're going to just set this aside in a minute and wait until we have other things ready to go into the oven. And on goes the rest of that stuffing that we saved. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. There's our first thing assembled. So the next thing I'm going to make is a green bean casserole, and I know everybody makes green bean casserole, but we all do it a little different. I've gotten this milk that I'm going to use in it, and a can of cream of mushroom soup, 2 cans of the Del Monte Harvest Cut green beans, and I like these green beans, this particular brand. I buy that frequently. and the Golden Farms crispy onions, and I buy these all the time too. So I will add my cream soup first. And then with my milk, I'm going to add a half of the soup can full of milk. Go ahead and whisk that up. I'm going to add some pepper. And again, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. Okay, then my green beans drained. Go ahead, stir those green beans in. I was looking for the French style for this, but they did not have any French style. Okay, and then I like to take half of the onions and add them right in right now. And stir those right in. It gives it really good flavor when you've got some of them softening up and cooking right in there. And then on top, I'm just going to go ahead and add all the extras. Okay. And that's assembled and ready to go into the oven in a bit. All right, the next thing I'm going to be making is some drop biscuits from scratch. And you are going to need some of their all-purpose flour, some of their baking powder. You're going to need some of their salt. I didn't buy their salt. I already had some, but salt. Okay, and you're going to need some of the milk we purchased. And you are going to need some of your margarine. Okay, we're going to start by prepping the margarine, and you need half of a stick of margarine, and we're going to go ahead and melt that. And to melt this margarine, I'm just popping it into the microwave in a mug. All right, we need 2 cups of the flour. I've got a half cup measure here so I can get it down into this little bag. Okay. And then I'm not going to open this baking powder because I already have baking powder open, but I just bought it to make it fair and to show you that they have it. And we need 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And then to that, we need a full teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir those dry with a fork. I'm going to pour in my 1/4 cup of melted margarine. And now I'm just going to work that all in. All right, then to that, we are going to add a cup of milk. These will taste so much better than those packets of biscuit mix that you can get at Dollar Tree. Now, just going to start spooning them out and dropping them onto the cookie sheet here. All right. And we are going to go ahead and pop those into a 350-degree oven and start those baking. Okay, now we're going to assemble our dessert and pop that in the oven with the biscuits. And we are going to make an apple cobbler. And for that, I have 2 cans of the Mother's Made apple pie filling. Now it says the ingredients are apples, water, corn syrup, cornstarch, cinnamon. So if you have some spice and you want to add the spice, go ahead. They did sell spices there if you'd like to add some. I usually like to add a little bit of nutmeg to my apple stuff, so I will do that, but it's not necessary because this already has cinnamon in it. Okay, and then for the topping, we're going to use some of the flour we purchased, some of the sugar, some of the milk, salt, baking powder, and some of the margarine, okay? So we're going to start by opening up these cans and adding them to our dish. Okay. This is where I'm going to add the little bit of nutmeg because I have it. And just a pinch sprinkled over the top. Nothing too serious. Okay. Now I'm going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter in the microwave. Margarine. 2, 3. Now in this little bowl, I am going to add 1 cup of our flour. Okay, 1 tablespoon of our sugar. Okay, then we are going to add 1½ teaspoons of the baking powder. We're going to add 1½ teaspoons of the baking powder. And I've got a ½ teaspoon here, so I'm going to go ahead, put those in, and then we're going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to go ahead and stir that in with a fork again. In goes all of our melted butter. Go ahead and work that in. Okay, and then we are adding about ½ cup of milk. Okay, and we're going to pour this right over the top. Okay, we're just going to spread that on there as best as we can. Okay, and that's going to go right in the same oven at 350 with the biscuits. Okay, our drop biscuits are out, and I am just going to toss a towel over the top and move them onto the table to keep them warm until we're ready for them. Okay, that apple cobbler is all done. We're just looking for it to be bubbly and the top to be brown, and with the biscuits we just cooked those till the tops were brown. I'm going to go ahead and just place the cover on this so that it stays hot. I'm going to bump the oven up to 375 degrees. Slide my chicken casserole and my green bean casserole in there, and then I will be back. All right, now, while that stuff is in the oven, we're gonna make some broccoli with cheese sauce. And I picked up the package of frozen broccoli. Okay, I got the water in there, and I'm gonna add a little salt. And then in this pan, we are going to make some cheese sauce using milk, flour, some margarine, and some cheddar cheese, and if you have pepper. I'm going to turn this little frying pan on medium heat. And we are going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter. And let that melt. While we are waiting for that to melt, we will start getting mashed potatoes ready. And I picked up these diced canned potatoes. I'm not really that into instant potatoes. So we will do mashed potatoes out of these. I'm going to go ahead and open and drain them, 2 cans of them. Okay, and we'll get back to those potatoes in a minute, because over here we have our butter almost completely melted. And to that butter, if you have the pepper, go ahead and add a decent amount of pepper. If you don't worry about it. Okay, and we are going to add 2 tablespoons of our flour to that butter. And we still have probably 1/3 of a bag of flour left over. We've got all kinds of baking powder left over. We're going to have margarine left over. Okay, we're going to brown this flour up. With this butter. Oh, we're also going to have almost the entire box of sugar left. We only used 1 tablespoon out of the sugar. So even though we spent $32.25, we actually have some things left over. We didn't use it all. Okay, to this, we're going to add 1 cup of milk. whisk that in with the flour mixture, flour butter mixture. Okay, and then we reserved half that package of cheese, about 1 cup. And in goes the cheese. And we're just going to stir this until it thickens. Stirring continually. You can see how that's transforming right into a beautiful homemade cheese sauce. So easy. It takes a little to nothing. Okay, I'm going to turn that right down on low just to keep that warm until our broccoli is done. Then back to the 2 cans of drained canned potatoes. I am just going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. If you have pepper, go ahead and add a good amount of pepper. Then I am going to add a little salt. Okay, and then I am going to start by adding about 1/4 cup of milk. We may need more, but that's what we're going to start with. Okay, and we're going to turn these potatoes on to heat. And I'm just going to heat them up on medium heat. And I do have a thing of turkey gravy. It says with real stock. I was hoping they were going to have some bouillon cubes so I could make a homemade gravy, but they didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and start that heating up on the back burner there. And you guessed it, I'm going to add a little pepper to that gravy. The broccoli's boiling. I'm going to shut that off, but leave it in the hot water so it stays hot while everything else is finishing up. Okay, let's see if we can mash these and if we need to add some more milk or anything. That is not bad. I'm going to let them heat just a little more and keep mashing them as they heat, because I suspect maybe even though that butter melted and the milk came to a simmer, that maybe they're not quite hot enough yet. But yeah, that doesn't look bad at all. Okay, my gravy's boiling. I'm going to turn that down to low. I'm peeking at my casseroles. They are starting to bubble, but not in the center yet. So it's getting close. Yes, the more this heats up, the better this is mashing. I'm going to try just one bite of that potato for you guys now, so I can tell you what it tastes like plain before we get the gravy and everything on there. Not bad at all. You can tell it's canned potato. But for me, I do like the taste better than an instant potato. Okay, I'm going to turn those down to low just to keep them warm. Okay, so as soon as the stuff's done in the oven, I just need to drain that broccoli and add the cheese sauce. And let me peek again. Okay, the stuff's getting very close in the oven, so I might as well go ahead and do that now. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this burner right on low so that cheese sauce stays warm. But on goes that delicious cheese sauce. Oh my, look how delicious that looks. Okay, that's going to set on low, staying warm, and I will be back just as soon as I get everything out of the oven, and we'll take a look at the rest of it. And there is the chicken casserole and the green bean casserole, and I will show you a shot of our plate when we get our plates done. Okay, there is our plate of supper and our dessert with some of that squirty whipped cream, the Ready Whip over the top. This was delicious. Stay tuned for a little chit chat at the end. We really enjoyed that dinner. My husband said he would not have known that the ingredients were coming from Dollar Tree. And I thought the canned potatoes for mashed potatoes turned out surprisingly well. You can taste a little bit of the tin taste from them being canned, but I preferred it over that taste that instant potato has because I have not eaten a lot of instant potato in my life, and it just always tastes so weird to me. I was surprised. The broccoli and cheese was my absolute favorite. And me being a big green bean casserole fan, I did not think I would prefer the broccoli and cheese over the green bean casserole. But to me, that was the best part of the meal. But everything turned out really good. And that apple cobbler, that really tasted completely from scratch. You could not tell that I had used canned pie filling in that. I think just that little sprinkle of the nutmeg over there, if you have some, made a big difference in the way that that tasted homemade versus not homemade. And I forgot to mention a couple things in the video. The Ready Whip was $3 and the Velveeta cheese was $3. Everything else was $1.25. And if you didn't want to make the biscuits from scratch or the cobbler from scratch, they did have mixes for both of those there. And the Ready Whip, I'm going to have a lot of that left over to go along with the other ingredients that I had left. So even though the cost was $32.25, there's a lot of ingredients left that are going to stretch over many more recipes. So I feel it was a pretty good value. I also think if you were to add 1 or 2 more cans of potatoes, that it easily would have fed 6. because we are going to eat this 3 times, all easy. I am going to throw a couple baked potatoes in the oven today in order to give some extra potato, but there was plenty of potato there for like 4 servings. So anyways, while we were eating supper last night, we got to talking about some different times that I have volunteered at the food cupboards. And one of the things that I noticed during the holidays or any time volunteering at the food cupboards is the people receiving it sometimes are younger people and they're not quite sure what to do with ingredients and stuff like that. And especially during the holidays, like if you hand a young person a full turkey, they're liable to tell you, I do not know how to cook this. I have no idea what to do with this. Same with if you give them like whole potatoes or whole squash or some of that stuff that they get given. And I have always said it's lacking something with the food cupboards. Like we need somebody in there that can show them how to use it, like small cooking lessons, or like when you give them the ingredients, to give them like a menu with the ingredients and like recipes that are like easy for beginner cooks. So I said to my husband, I said, wow, I wish I had some higher up position in a food cupboard. I said, because I would tag this video and give them the written recipes and make sure that the donations for the food cupboard included everything for this meal, because this was so easy to make that anybody learning to cook could make it, especially with a how-to video. And so maybe you're watching and maybe you are in charge of a food cupboard and maybe you could make that happen for like Christmas. I know it's kind of short for Thanksgiving, but anyways, guys, this was super fun. This was mostly for my entertainment, and I really enjoyed doing this. And thank you for coming along for my first video on this channel. I hope you will like and subscribe because there's going to be a lot more videos coming. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.